I'd stop moaning about what's wrong and focus on what I could do to make it right.
Yes, and we know that you can use Facebook pages as business pages. And
and then let the business come to him and say, God, whatever you're doing, teach us, and he can charge it back to them.
Well, that's right. He could then set a second business up, teaching all the other franchisees how to do as well as he's done.
Well, if he wanted to be a teacher, it's the same point. We keep bossing him into things that we would like to do. The man's got a business to run. He's not saying, what business shall I be in? He's got a good business here. Build on it.
Yeah, right. And then he's
just missing a few marketing tricks, that's all.
Yeah, good one.
And he knows that. He even knows that. And he's got the budget for it. So the man's about 5 minutes away from solving this problem.
Good stuff.
If he didn't have the budget, oh, God, he'd be months away from solving this problem. Yes. But, he's close.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello.
Morning, caller.
Morning, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's still glorious here.
Oh, very good.
But I have had calls from people today wrapped up in scarves in England.
Oh, let me just look at you. You talk for a bit and then I'll tell you what the weather's like here.
Okay. All right. Well, my week, let's talk about my week then. We picked Suzanne Jorgensen up from Kalamata Airport, which was quite fun in itself because it's always funny to see people's reactions at how tiny Kalamata is.
She's been before to Stupa though, hasn't she?
No, she came to Spain with us that time we went.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I knew she'd holidayed with you before. Spain? Yeah. Where were you in Spain that she came?
We were in Casares. I've got a friend who's got.
Yes.
We were doing a website, and she gave it to us for the month, and we took the kids, and then we sent some of the kids home because they were bored.
Yes.
And then Suzanne arrived and she spent the week with Nelson and Sarah and I.
Okay.
Yeah, good fun. So we knew she was what's the word? A simpatico holiday companion.
Yes.
And she's very, very active, and she gets up and goes for long walks, and she's pretty much had a rough year, because she's come to the end of her cancer treatment, and then she had to move from America, and because she's got a grandchild now, so she wanted to be based back in the UK, and she started a very high-powered job, and we've done lots of beach and so she's been quite worn out, to be honest, and she's been doing lots of healthy activities like lying in the sun and walking and just generally having a lovely time.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, very nice. And we're off to a pub quiz this afternoon in Agis Nicola. So
that's quite a funny thing, isn't it? We're off to a pub quiz. It's so British.
It is so British. The British do like their social activities. There was Musaka and cribbage started on Monday, but I missed it because I didn't know. Okay. And cribbage, hard. I'd rather play poker, to be honest, but there you go. But Sarah and Suzanne are walking to Agnick, which is a 45-minute stroll along a rather nice seaside path. And I'm going to go in the car with the others and meet them over there because I don't have time to walk. So, yeah.
I remember asking you this question before, and I can't remember the answer. Is there no poker in Stupa?
No.
And can't you start it, Nicola?
No, any kind of gambling is very, very frowned upon here.
Oh, okay. And do you have to gamble? Couldn't you just do it for, with dummy?
No, poker players play poker to gamble. Even if it's only, €10, but it's still illegal. And the policemen here have guns, so nobody takes these chances.
No, okay, fair enough.
Week jail. Yeah, and what have I been doing? So I haven't been doing so much work this week. I've been taking time off and spending it down the beach. But I've been doing a purge of unused or ineffective software products because they creep up, those little $7.99s and $5.99s, and it's a bit like holes in your leaky bucket. So I've been doing a purge of those and going through and trimming costs where I can and where I don't think it's being very effective. So
okay.
And that's my week. What about yours?
Well, not dissimilar in terms of trimming costs. A close cousin of that on Monday. In fact, I wrote the notes for this on Tuesday. So this is my notes. My week is all very Monday focused. On Monday, I did my tax return, which is in October, a bit late in the year for me, but I had a good reason for doing that. But it's good to have it off my plate. And like everything you put off and dread, it only actually took me less than 3 hours. I quite enjoyed it, which is quite funny. But the point of this story is that Monday was Hurricane Ophelia, which approached Ireland and Scotland and the west of England. And as it started to happen, the sky darkened, the sun turned red, and there was lots of heightened emotion on Monday. So I had anger and tears, people bursting into tears and being very cross, in my clients and in a close friend, not me, funnily enough, because as you know, I did my ranting a couple of weeks ago, so I'm all right, Jack. But strange sort of apocalyptic weather, and and everybody going, why is the sky darkening like that? And basically it was because this hurricane was coming, and the red sun was all about Saharan dust that it had picked up on the way over, apparently. But we all thought it was significant, and people started behaving as they do when there's a big wind, in a dramatic way. Well, the wind drives people mental. Did you not know that? People, if you live, the Sirocco winds and the Saharan winds and the people who live in windy places, the wind makes people a bit mental, radio rental.
Well, I can imagine, because it is when I'm sitting on a beach and the wind is, even if there's a strong but steady onshore breeze, my hair blowing about makes me very irritated. Hashtag.
Yes, irritation is not quite what I'm talking about, darling. I mean, I will never forget the day I put you in a topless car and there was fuss about hair, but I know you've outgrown that now to a certain extent. Yeah. But irritation is not what we're discussing here. We're talking verging on madness, but we're all right now because the sky has been bright ever since. And in answer to your weather question, it's 63 degrees, which is not bad for... and actually the weather, which I just got off Outlook, is, of course, horribly American. 63 degrees. I don't know what that translates to in our modern lingo, but warm, mild. It's mild, and the sun is out as I speak, and it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, obviously.
Oh, good. So you're all okay then? That's fine.
Yeah, we're all fine. Yes, as far as I'm aware. But there was some bonkers moments on Monday, and actually, I think quite a lot of people in, say, Ireland lost electricity and Wi-Fi and things for a bit.
Oh, okay. So it was quite electrically charged.
Oh, and big dramatic seas. If you were on the west coast of Ireland or England or Scotland, you had big waves over your head.
Oh, good grief. Well, there you go then. So. Nothing. The other thing is I have been doing a bit of marketing for my workshop, which I'm hosting between Christmas and New Year in the Gatwick area. It's going to be day one.
Are you just flying in for the 2 days, or are you coming home for Christmas?
No, I'm coming home for Christmas and New Year, but I'm stuck, for 2 weeks. I wanted to have something to do in between festivities. So, that week in between is always a bit of a downtime for me. So I thought, a 2-day workshop, that'll do nicely. And so I'm doing Fast Start Masterclass, covering how I would start again if I was starting again, not using websites and mailing lists, perhaps, on the first day. And then Be Everywhere Online on the second day, Thursday and Friday, 28th and 29th. And I've got bookings for it already. So it seems to be, that not a lot of other people don't like that time.
One of my clients told me that she wanted to come to day 2. And then last night when I was lying in bed, your Facebook ad was shown to me.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
On both occasions, I thought, she hasn't told me about this on the podcast.
Oh, right. Well, it literally is just something I cooked up last week. So, over the weekend, in fact. So, you know me, I like to get things into action quite quickly. So the people can come to either one day or both days. And obviously the people who come to both days can stay and have dinner and have a drink in the bar, and we'll have a nice good old chinwag about their business. So
okay. And perhaps you would send me a link so I can link to it in the show notes, would you?
Yes, I will. Yes. Link. Note. Right. Okay, so 12:07, we're on to Fueled My Fire.
Okay, do you want to go?
Yeah, I've got an absolutely blank space for this.
Oh, okay. Well, shall I go and then you'll think of something while I'm talking about it?
I'm sure I will. I might not.
Actually, I've got a bit of a blank space later on, funnily enough. Okay. I'm having one of those weeks where almost nobody's impressed me, although I know that's not the truth. It's just you can't call anything to mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've got good news and bad news in my Fueled Your Fire. I'll give you the good first. Do you remember that last week we crossed our fingers because I was going to ask the man I really, really, really wanted to write the foreword for my book, and I had a consultation. He had a consultation with me booked in for that afternoon, and as you know, because I've put it on Facebook, he said yes, even before I'd finished asking the question. And he said it would be an honour and a privilege, and I was chuffed for several days because this man has got royalty checks that only you and I could dream of, Nicola.
Oh, really?
What a top chap. Because I said to him, do you remember when the first time a client said to you, will you write the foreword for my book? It's like, oh, what an honour and a privilege. And then the book arrives, you think, oh, I've got to read the book, haven't I? Because in order to do a decent job, you've got to read the book. And I imagine quite a lot of people don't read the book, actually. But so I sent him the book, and the best bit was he sent me back a note that said, I had the quickest scan through and it looks great. The tone of voice is perfect. It's so you. And that's perfect because your voice is so distinctive, strong and funny. Isn't that nice?
Yes, very nice.
I think he was sending me that because he knows how fragile a writer can be when showing her work for the first time to A, a professional writer, or B, another living human being, really.
Yeah.
So that's the good news. The bad news is he's not free to do it until the week commencing the 8th of November. He did offer to put himself under stress and do it faster, but I said, no, let's wait for ease, because ease is my middle name.
Yeah.
So it'll be the last element of the book to come together, and I can still get it published electronically during November, which is my plan. And today, the third and final proofreader does her work. Last night, the second proofreader sent me through a very short list of 13 suggestions, some of which were implemented and some were not. But I've got more to tell you about this in project updates. But anyway, what's fueled my fire? A high-earning, successful author of repute says my voice is distinctive, strong and funny.
Well, I would have totally agree with him.
Well, how nice, though. I mean, one. I'm sure he was just not totally being nice, but I think he must have known what it feels like the first time when you're a first-time author to send your book to a proper author and be waiting for some kind of sign.
Yeah. Well, I've managed to think of something while you.
Oh, good.
And it comes from, let's talk about serendipity. It comes from a lovely lady who was one of our guests on the podcast during the summer. And she sent me a message when I was on the sunbed yesterday. And I'm just skimming. I found it. Here we go. Okay, here we go. This was nice. I'm not going to read it all, but it was very nice. Nicola, I have a client I've suggested considers working with you, potentially for a done-for-you package. She's had a few letdowns, and I'd like to see her in safe hands for a change. And she's asked one of my other clients to have a chat with her because she knows that I've been working with someone else. And she says, what is the best way for her to check you out online? So I replied, but it's the fact that, she's been let down, this other person, by people, mainly because she keeps working locally. She keeps trying to get people who live in her far-flung part of the UK to do.
It's very weird, isn't it, how people, it's the opposite of you and me, that the people that look for localness. It would never occur to me to need or want anybody local to do anything, because I'm so online-y, I tend to think the world is local to me.
Yeah, and there was that time I put a job on Upwork for a graphic designer who I wanted a very particular style of template for our magazine, our online magazine, and the best applicant who suggested, showed me the best work was from Brighton. It's 7 miles along the coast, but he could have been from anywhere in the world, and he had actually grown up in Shoreham. And he now lived in the street that I lived in Brighton when I lived in Brighton. So
it doesn't preclude coincidences like that, does it?
No.
But it isn't a requirement of mine. The VA I'm working with now is 7 hours behind me and emails me in the night when I'm asleep, and I email her when I get up in the morning and she's asleep. What a lovely picture on your Momentum today. Yes,
it is nice. Zarauts in Spain, apparently.
Yes, nice.
Zaraut.
Interesting question. Go back to that little message. Interesting question that woman who's aware of you enough to recommend you didn't know how to find you online in a way. Do you see what that's doing? That's a Facebook private message, which is increasingly the way that people try and connect with us without bothering to go and Google to see how they can find a link to share with people.
Yeah, exactly. And the interesting thing was, you'd think in the olden days, people would have gone straight to a website or done a Google search.
Yeah.
I was able to send her back a link to my V-zine, which I think is the best way to find out about me personally.
Okay.
And and then a link to register for the Be Everywhere online webinar, which is the best way to find out about the program that I offer, and the For You service indeed that we offer.
All right, so let me ask you a question then. If the V-zine is the best way to find out about you online...
Well, personally, about my personal...
Well, whatever. Do you feel that it's front and central? You know, the first thing that people discover when they Google you?
No, the first thing they discover when they Google me is still my website. So, you've got, if you've got a website, make sure it's up to date and people, it's obvious what people should do on it. But I think that I am certainly feeling that the V-zine is the main plank of my marketing, because I can promote that to thousands and thousands of people for £5 a day.
Yeah.
Kate Cocker, who I'm doing the Be Everywhere Online Challenge with today, she I just looked at her stats. I mentioned to you a little while ago, I think, that you can upload video to LinkedIn natively.
Yes.
And I just went into her LinkedIn account, and in the last week, I think I've uploaded 3, possibly 4, but probably more likely 3 videos, tips videos, and she's had just under 2,000 views of those videos free. We haven't paid for them. 2,000 people in the last week have viewed her tips videos, which is just astonishing. So, I think that any kind of content, whether it's video or audio with pictures, I think is got to be the way forward, really. I just want to say one thing about that lady who wants to work locally. I think it's what's the word I'm looking for? She doesn't feel confident in being able to communicate her needs unless she's sitting in front of someone. So she probably doesn't use Skype or video communication of any kind.
Oh, I totally get it. It's a completely different profile from us. It's all extrovert, star supporter, go out of the house, meet people, can we have a meeting? I get that. There's another aspect of this as well. And lots of my clients will be shaking their heads when I'm talking like this, because they think like this, because they are different geopolitically from me, i.e. they want to encourage local businesses. They like face-to-face networking. If they're going to spend £1, they want to spend it with a small indie business, not into a global chain. It's a political thing as well for some.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's about putting money into your local economy, not sending it round the world.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, I'm a big believer in that. That's why I don't shop at Lidl in Kalamata. I shop at Katarina's because it's a local business, and I enjoy spending sometimes slightly more money to buy a punnet of mushrooms than I would in Lidl. But I'd much rather it went locally. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm not bothered. You see, Ocado, Amazon, and Starbucks. They're my natural homes, and I know it's frowned upon by my clients who care about local economies.
Yeah. The other thing about the Fuel by Fire thing is, it's wonderful to be known as someone who is honest, who won't take people's money and rip them off. But the other thing is, obviously, I then have to be very careful while vetting this potential client, because it may well be that she's got unrealistic expectations. So, it's a fine line between being delighted to be recommended because you never knowingly rip someone off, but the other thing is, you've just got to make sure that you don't go in with unrealistic expectations of the client. Otherwise, they might feel
yes. I think that's a good point. So vetting is a two-way thing.
Yeah, very much so.
Her review, you of her. Afterwards, remind me, please. I'd like to send you a thought on that topic.
Okay. All right. Good point. Here at Own It, we personally believe that leaders are readers. But sometimes it's just not convenient to read and you'd rather listen instead. For listeners of Own It the podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. A couple of titles we've picked out for you particularly are Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg or Crush It, Why Now is the Time to Cash In on Your Passion by Gary Vaynerchuk. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/ownit. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ownit for your free audiobook. You can pick one of the ones I've chosen for you, or you can choose something else. Enjoy your listen. Right then, so client challenge of the week we're on to, and I've got a really meaty one for you this week, which I...
Okay, well, it's mainly for you because it's really centrally on your topic and not on mine.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll see. Okay, so let me just get it up here. Here we go. Right, I'm going to read it out. I put out a call for challenges last week, and we're always on the look for good challenges because, you know, the more specific we can get, the more helpful we can be. This is Philip, and he says, here's the mother of all of them. I run a commercial cleaning company, 25 sites, turnover 200,000. Marketing is a nightmare. It's taken 3 years of relentless struggle to get here. Problem is that every company needs cleaning, but we've absolutely no idea who they are. And I said, thanks, Philip. We'll tackle it this week. Do you have a feel for who in the company makes the buying decision? How have you found your best, most profitable clients in the past? What is your monthly marketing budget, and what do you spend it on right now? He says, decision makers vary. In the larger companies, the PA tends to do the walk around and then send the quote to the higher ups for a decision. My feeling is that they skip to page 4 and pick the cheapest of the quotes. Of the smaller jobs, where we're often speaking to the manager or owner of the business, we tend to get a higher hit rate, which immediately tells me that's where we should be focusing his attentions. All of our business, or at least most, comes from our website, on which we spend £700 a month plus VAT for SEO and pay-per-click. I have the resources for increased marketing. Notice he doesn't tell me how much. It didn't answer the specific question.
No, but he's unique amongst our clients for that. He's got resources for marketing. Hurrah!
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he says, but the question has always been in which direction to place the budget. As in the past, I've spent speculative money on everything from radio advertising to signs on buses, and all produced nothing.
Right, could we stop there for a minute?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a point there. Speculative money spent on radio advertising and signs on buses all produce nothing. Quite a good point for us all to pay attention to that, because speculative advertising doesn't really work anymore.
And also, where was he sending them to? Because if he was sending them to the corporate website, it would be just throwing money down
Well, in a minute, when you click on his website that says, let's say the name of his website, but it does say /Maidenhead. And when you click on that, it takes you to the head office one, and it talks about central London. Deeply confusing.
I know. And no wonder he's not working. Oh, that's good. We've got an area now, so I hadn't picked that out.
Yeah.
I said, do you track which pay-per-click ads bring you business? Assume Google AdWords. How much per click are you paying? What's the landing page call to action? He said, I don't have the answers to this, as our head office maintains the company website, but I will find out. And then I said, oh, so you're a franchise? And he said, yes, that's right. Although the franchise company is, in his opinion, fairly derelict in its marketing duties, so it's every man for himself. And I said this morning, any updates, we're talking about this, so any other info would help. Like, for example, are you restricted in your own advertising activities? Can you create your own Facebook page?
Or your own clone website as well.
Well, I went and had a look at the company Facebook page, which is the one that they link to on the website. And it was created in 2015, and it's had nothing added since.
No.
So that
he might as well have his own, mightn't he?
Well, he then
Ex-clean Maidenhead. If Maidenhead's his patch, it's certainly one of his patches. He says he's got quite a lot of patches, doesn't he? I get confused about.
Well, he did say that he's got his own page, but he
actually, now I'm thinking, is he the franchise? Oh no, he's not the franchisor, because he says he's got multiple branches, didn't he?
No, I think he meant that the
whole business has. Yeah.
So I then said, can you send me a link to your Facebook page? And he couldn't do that because he was on his mobile. He didn't know how to do it. But he did say, you can find me if you search X blah clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tried to do that, and there was about 20 of them. So immediately I could see that if he added X clean Maidenhead to his name of his own Facebook page,
yes,
he would immediately start getting more targeted traffic,
and also get a lot of geo-targeted stuff, because nobody's if I were looking for an office cleaning business in Maidenhead, I'd put office cleaning Maidenhead into Google, wouldn't you? Yeah,
totally. And so I think he's probably forced into this 700 for SEO and pay-per-click, and probably all the franchisees have to pay that, but he's got extra budget. And if Google pay-per-click's working, I would certainly think that Facebook pay-per-click would work for him, but also getting his page going with adding something about business or the local area every single would help enormously. But adding the word Maidenhead into the name would definitely be a start, because I can't find it at all.
Well, when you click on xclean /Maidenhead, it takes you to the head office and talks about the West End, which is no good at all. You think, oh, hello, that must be a head office thing, is that he's given us a link to his thing, but it reverts, I don't know what the word is, redirects to the head office page. Very strange.
I know, and it really means that he's getting business. Right, let's go back. So he says that the best businesses for him, where we get a higher hit rate and presumably it's easier to close quicker, is where it's the manager or owner of the business. Now, you can actually target those people on Facebook, and you can put an ad in front of the manager and owner of the business. And you can also restrict it to just, 20 miles around Maidenhead or whatever. And so he'd really get much better results from that. Coming back to the radio advertising and signs on buses, I mean, radio advertising you can track, because you tell people to claim use a little discount code to get a discount off, and you send them to a page on your website, /radio, for example.
Yeah.
But if he's not got his own website, he'll find it hard to do that.
But interestingly, if they're derelict in their duties, in order to make my business successful, I would do whatever I could outside what head office are doing for me.
Oh, totally, yes. I mean, I'm getting the impression he's totally willing to take responsibility for his own
life.
He's just not having a clue where to start.
Yeah.
So these are sort of tips already that he could be doing. And the other thing is that you could, if you know that PAs are the decision makers, he could make a nice little content video introducing his company, showing some of the work they do before and after perhaps, and introducing some of his team. And then he could show that video to people in the Maidenhead area whose job descriptions are, personal assistants and executive assistants. And you could do that on Facebook, and you can do it on LinkedIn, because you target people by their job description and their area.
Yeah.
What else would we do? On a business for about 200,000, what do you think a marketing budget should be?
I don't really believe in percentages like that, but he can easily afford. He's saying he can afford to put it up, and he does attempt. He at least understands the concept of tracking. So I'd spend a bit more, and exactly what you've said to him, is what's working, let's do more of that. But interestingly, where he says, this was quite an interesting point, almost every company needs cleaning, but we've absolutely no idea who they are. Well, if it's every company, you don't need to know who they are. It's every company, end of. It's, try and reach every company in your patch. Yeah,
I was just about to say, going and doing some proper research about businesses in a certain turnover bracket or a certain employee.
Well, I think every real business that affords a commercial cleaner has one, and if they work, they keep it, and if they don't work, they sack them and try another one. So, part of his job is, when he gets hired, to be good enough not to be sacked, so to stick.
Yeah, and get recommendations.
Yes.
The thing is, he could look at joining the local BNI. He could look at, I would certainly be joining the local Chamber of Commerce. And if you're not the kind of person who likes going networking, then find someone and pay them to do it on your behalf.
You could have loyalty cards and word of mouth referral bonuses and all that kind of thing as well.
Yeah. And now, so how much is 700 a month times 12? Because my maths is a little shaky this morning. 81?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm interested in this concept of how much as a percentage, I know you don't, but so if you're paying 770, it must be 90.
I'm just working it out for you. 700 times 12 equals 8,400.
Okay, so can you multiply that by 100 and then divide it by 200,000?
Times 100 divided by 200,000 equals 4.2%.
Yeah, okay, so he really should be looking at spending up to 10%, really.
Well, I think "should" is the wrong words there. He could, if he wanted, increase that.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any shouldy percentages here. I don't believe in that. But, he's got more money, he says that. Yeah. But I wouldn't just spend it because I've got it. I'd spend a bit and see if it worked. And if it did, I'd do more of that.
Yeah, and only spend it on things that you can track.
Yes. And actually there are ways of tracking, as you rightly said, stuff that, it's not true to say that it produced nothing. I don't think. What it does is increases brand awareness. So, for instance, if he was on the radio, he could have the jingle on his Facebook page. And if he was on buses, he could have photographs of that on his Facebook page. It's all about brand awareness, which does increase business, get you more likely to be hired. It doesn't necessarily produce we can say we got that one from there. Bit like us with the podcast. We did 100 and something shows before we saw a significant increase in the amount of business that came our way from it. There were trickles at the beginning. It's difficult to measure some things.
Yeah, if he finds out that actually it's the business owner that's making the decision, he could do things like sponsor football matches if the business owners go and support the local football team. He could, do quite a lot with sponsorship locally to get his firm in front of. And that costs peanuts sometimes. You're just buying the kit every season, or you're putting a banner on the side of the football match, or if he lives in the near Maidenhead, I don't know, it's bound to be football. There might be some rugby.
I think you want to keep under people's noses, don't you? It reminds me of the man that I always talk about, the London patron decorator who leaflets every home in South London once a month and has done for 20 years. And you wouldn't think of anybody else, because the man's just right on the tip of your tongue all the time. That's what you want to be, on the tip of everybody's tongue.
Yeah. There was something I was going to say and I was going right out of my head. Oh, no, it was another idea. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, oh yes, I know. It was an aside, actually. I got an email from someone who listens to the podcast from very far flung away, and she was thanking us for all we do on the podcast and how much she loves all our content. And she was saying she's probably going to become a client of yours first.
Oh,
so she was telling me that she was going to become a client of yours.
Oh, marvellous.
So you've got another one coming.
Okay, lovely. Do you remember her first name?
I do. I can tell you afterwards.
Lovely.
Yeah, so that was very funny. So yes, lots of things: branding, tracking staff, getting more specific with your own advertising, working out whether you want to talk to the VAs, PAs, and track them down on LinkedIn or Facebook. And if you're talking to the business owners, think of ways you can get in front of those. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of marketing ideas here. So if you would like, Philip, I would be delighted to help you with this.
So, Nicola, what is this challenge about? Is it marketing a real world business?
I think it is.
Online marketing for a real world business?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's our title.
Lovely.
And, he's the fact is he's got to this point within 2 years, and he says it's been, really hard work. But the fact that he's got there at all means that they must be doing a good service, his particular branch. Now, the other thing, of course, this is a fairly radical idea. He could actually sell his franchise and start his own cleaning business and then put his £700 a month towards...
He'd have to start again, though.
He would, but he's done this in 2 years. It'd be
but the 2 years is the hard bit. Why would you want to do those 2 years again? I think if he can build on it, he's asking the right questions at the right time. If he can build on it now,
Do you think that it's? I mean, this is a bit of an esoteric question, but do you think that it's, if you've got a marginally successful franchise that's got the potential to be much more successful, do you think it's better to stick with that franchise, or do you think it would be a good idea to start a rival company perhaps under someone else's name and build that up?
I think the first one. I think the second one is a legal can of worms.
Right, okay. So say you're not doing it at the same time. Say you could sell your successful franchise for a good return on the money and then start a new business. Do you think most franchise agreements have got a non-compete clause?
Well, he might not want to start. If he was to sell that business after only 2 years and start another business, he might choose to start a completely different business.
He knows.
He's no more a cleaner than I was an accountant. He might be an entrepreneur.
Yes. Which means
I wouldn't be setting up. I wouldn't be setting up in competition to a franchise at this stage.
What, even one that's so rubbish at marketing itself?
I don't know that. We don't know that that's true. It's so much more complicated than I can answer in this question. It's a can of worms, and only he can decide whether he would even consider that. I think it's a red herring to this challenge.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Philip, ignore the last 2 minutes.
But I mean, Philip sounds like a bright man, and I'm sure thoughts like that go through his head. And if he wants to talk about those, then email us again, Philip. But he's got the franchise agreement, so he can have a look. Yeah. He spent 2 years building something. I wouldn't be abandoning it yet, but when the time is right and he's got something else he'd rather do, if you've built it even more, you could sell it.
That's very true. Building it would only make it more valuable.
Yeah.
Spend another year building it up, Philip, and then cash it in.
Well, we'll see. That's you and me who like to chop and change. That might not be Philip.
Well, no, it was more about the fact that I was thinking, perhaps he could he's obviously missing a lot of business because of the way the head office have got the website set up.
Yeah, but he can do something about that now.
Yes.
I'd stop moaning about what's wrong and focus on what I could do to make it right.
Yes, and we know that you can use Facebook pages as business pages. And
and then let the business come to him and say, God, whatever you're doing, teach us, and he can charge it back to them.
Well, that's right. He could then set a second business up, teaching all the other franchisees how to do as well as he's done.
Well, if he wanted to be a teacher, it's the same point. We keep bossing him into things that we would like to do. The man's got a business to run. He's not saying, what business shall I be in? He's got a good business here. Build on it.
Yeah, right. And then he's
just missing a few marketing tricks, that's all.
Yeah, good one.
And he knows that. He even knows that. And he's got the budget for it. So the man's about 5 minutes away from solving this problem.
Good stuff.
If he didn't have the budget, oh, God, he'd be months away from solving this problem. Yes. But, he's close.
Yep, it's word of the week, isn't it?
Yes, mine's bigger. Because on Monday, in heightened emotion Ophelia Day, everybody wanted to talk about bigger, working bigger, playing bigger. When people get fed up with having been a bit squished by family circumstances or upbringing or culture or family limitations where they've got kids and so forth, and then suddenly everybody's ready to play a bigger game. At the end of the day, I put down the phone and I thought, they're two fantastic women in their 40s with children who are ready to be on fire with their respective businesses, completely different, and both of them had used the word bigger.
Nice. When a zeitgeist theme presents itself.
Yes, I'm sure it was Ophelia related, but I think they'll still feel it after the weather's over. It was sort of, there were the tears from one of them as well. I think, emotional realizations like that, I've been playing too small for a long time, are quite tearful making.
Yes.
Anyway, word of the week is bigger. It's not what I want, but it's what a couple of fantastic clients of mine want, and many of my clients want, actually.
Yeah. Well, mine is reconnection, because obviously I've reconnected with Suzanne. It's funny because I would describe us as friends, and when I spend time with her, I really enjoy it. But we don't talk much in between, which is interesting. Although, we obviously comment on each other's pictures on Facebook and things like that. But I'm not a chatter. I'm not someone who has phone chats with people. And so, I tend to sort of keep myself to myself in between events. But it's nice when you can meet someone and reconnect with them and realise.
She has also had a very complex, you said year, but actually it's been 3 years really since the cancer and the recovery and the wedding and the baby and the transfer back from America to the UK and the new job. She's had a lot on her plate for those last 3 years.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I always imagine that everyone else wants to chit chat about everything all the time, but perhaps they don't. Perhaps
no, they don't. No. I think she was probably too busy coping with it.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so project updates then.
Yeah, still a book for me. So handover yesterday between proofreader 2 and 3. And number 1 did an excellent job, which was in a Word document with track changes. And number 2 did also such a good job in a different way that I don't think there'll be much for number 3 to find. Number 1 taught me that I confused that and which, so I had to edit all my whiches to be that instead. And she explained to me why, but I told her she'll have to tell me that every book, because I think I've been misusing that and which for the last 62 years, and I don't imagine I will change overnight, because I didn't really understand her explanation. It was really rather too complex. And I think if I'd installed Grammarly, the pro version, before I'd started, it would have probably said to me, although it doesn't seem to work with Scrivener, but it would probably have said to me, you don't mean which, you mean that. So that's something to think about. And also both of them, number 1 and number 2, gave me word tips, whereas I'm writing in Scrivener, it just exports to Word. So word tips right over my head, really. But, great that they were both such experts in Word. But word formatting, word tips and Scrivener tips are two different things. But interesting, the thing about that and which. I say which when I mean that.
I wonder if it was because you're brought up to think that which was a nicer, posher word.
No, it's to do with the well, I'll look up the the thing she told me if you're interested, but it's a little bit, it's a bit of, I think which would have been fine. Neither Word nor the free Grammarly pointed that out to me, but she knew the proper grammar reason for using one, not the other.
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm enjoying most about Write Club is these obscure grammatical things that we learn about.
Oh, I think, yes, obscurity is good, isn't it? And the second proofreader noticed all sorts of things like opening exclamation mark, opening speech marks but not closing them, and commas and so forth. And did I mean amoral, not immoral? And I had to go and look up the two, and I went, yes, I did mean amoral. Sort of strange. Yes, it's strange. It's quite an interesting thought to compare the feedback to what did you mean? Did you actually mean what you said? Or did you mean what they thought you meant? And it's quite, because actually that's, I've intended deliberately to be quite marmitey in the book, which won't please all of the people all of the time. And, and clearly some of the feedback was about, do you really want to say that, or is it a Judithism?
Judithism. Well, the more those sprinkled through it, the better.
Well, absolutely right. We need a bit of humour, don't we?
Yeah, I think this is going to be so much a better book for this being through the three people process. It's
certainly interesting, and they picked up detail, and they also picked up, or they flagged to me how detail people find a lack of detail annoying. Yes.
Well, I constantly struggle with that one, being a lack of detail person myself. So,
well, yeah. I'm quite I'm quite big picture as well, although I'm quite like accuracy. So I'm very grateful for every tip and comment and thought that I've had, but I've probably implemented 90% of them, but not all of them.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's very good. I had a bit of a mooch about. We're at 78 in the What's Hot chart, which is up 1 from where we were. But we are quite flat on our downloads, although we're grateful for every single download and every single listener. It would be lovely if everyone could just share us with one person this week. Get those, upwards lines going again. But the one thing I have been looking at is John Loomer, who's a Facebook ads expert, has released a fantastic article on how to use Facebook ads to promote individual episodes of your podcast, which is really interesting. So I might throw a few fivers at that this week. Look at our top 3.
You could throw our $15. You could throw the $15 we made.
Oh, God, yes. We might even have made another $15. I don't know. Yes, you're right.
Oh.
I could do that. I haven't even looked at that, our Audible thing. But yeah, no, I will do that because what you can do is you can make Facebook memes for your top episodes, and then you can create ads that send Facebook traffic directly to the iTunes or Stitcher pages for those specific episodes. Whereas before, you were sending traffic to your general website URL or your general iTunes or Stitcher URL. But this is where you can actually pick out your top episodes and boost them. Yeah, so I'll have a go at that this week.
All right. Now, let's just think about that for a moment, since we've got plenty of time. If you spend money sending people to a particular episode, there's no financial gain from that. There's only a download gain. So you're doing that to promote or increase the likelihood of the hockey stick effect. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Because you're exposing your podcast to new potential subscribers. Yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily show it to your existing engaged subscribers your group or page.
Right. Well, I've got a little treat in store for us in 2018, which is my new Facebook marketing thing. It works for 3 pages, and one of them could be the podcast. So we're going to be able to use one of those opt-in gates for our Facebook page, which is a bit unloved.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, that'll be very good. Okay, so yes, I'll put the link for the John Loomer article on how to do that into the show note for you to put in the show note.
You give it to me, yes, that'd be great. Thank you. I think that'll also be useful for other people who are podcasting, which includes that woman that sent you that referral just now, and also Susan, of course, Podcast Progress.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so who or what's impressed this week?
Well, I struggled with this one. Mine's a bit weak. Having read these 12 books in 10 weeks in the lead up to the Booker Prize, the Booker Prize was announced on Tuesday night. Oh, it's the only one I found completely unreadable, I think, which is... So that was terribly disappointing, and I wanted... So I'm going to recommend one that didn't win. And I'm going to recommend it to you too, because you said last week I need to read some books that are well written so I can understand what a well written book is. Yeah. And it's a 900 or 1,000 pager, depending what format you read it in. And it's by Paul Auster, Auster. It's called 4321 in numerals. And it's 4 different, slightly different versions of the story of a young boy in America. In my lifetime, only some of it in your lifetime, because it's sort of 50s, 60s onwards. But I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed the challenge of reading such a long book. And it was very readable. It was quite different. Do you remember Sliding Doors, where the film with Gwyneth Paltrow, where there are 2 different versions of a life? Well, in this, there are 4 different versions of the life, and they overlap. So a girlfriend is a main feature in one life, but only a small character in another life type of thing. So it's a little bit confusing. Same parents in all 4 versions, but different relationships. You know, in one somebody dies, in another one they get divorced, in another one they live happily ever after. It's difficult to keep up, but it's enjoyable and it's well worth reading, and I'm very disappointed it didn't win the prize, because it deserved to.
Oh, well, I'll definitely read that, because it also sounds like it would fit with my idea for my own book.
Oh, big fat novel. Anyway, if anybody wants a big fat novel, that's what I'm recommending. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend Karen Wilmot, who's a client of yours, I believe. Virtual Midwife?
Yes, she was.
Yes, and she joined my Be Everywhere Online challenge, and there's been no action at all really, apart from with me and Kate, for a long time. And then suddenly Karen sprung into action, started posting pictures of pin boards covered in coloured post-it notes and plans of action, and she's really starting to embrace the whole thing of creating an online presence and spreading it everywhere, from one piece of content. And I'm just very impressed with her. She's getting on with it. I can't report any results yet because it was only last week, but I'm just thrilled when anyone is inspired to take action. And it's one of my...
Yes, I agree. Yep.
Love.
Yeah, and she is quite motivated. She does, she's a midwife, and she does do it locally in the Middle East where she lives, but she also wants to be able to be of use to expat mothers the world over. So she is motivated to make a success of her website online.
Yes, and she's actually doing it, which is lovely to see. It's
very good.
Pleasure. Yeah. That's us done then. We're
okay.
Short, sharp and sweet this week. But
yes,
hopefully everyone's enjoyed the discussion about Philip's cleaning business, and we'd love to get more client challenges from our listeners, wouldn't we? And we can do it.
We would.
So do feel free to send it, and don't forget to forward this podcast to one more person. That would be great. Yes. Okay. Speak to you later then.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.